Hey, how's it going? Please ignore the mess behind me. I'm in the middle of a move, but I really wanted to put a video out because the 2025 Oscar nominations just dropped. I always get excited for the Oscars. It kind of feels like the Super Bowl for cinephiles. And even though year after year we kind of learn just how little importance these awards hold, it's still fun to try to predict who's going to be walking away with the gold. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be going through each of the categories and trying to figure out who is going to walk away with that particular Oscar. So actually for each category, I'm going to be giving two choices. There's going to be my pick, which is what I personally hope wins, and then my prediction, which is what I think is going to win just based on what I understand about the Academy and how they give out the awards. And before we get into it, let me know what movies you're going to be pulling for at the Oscars, which movies got snubbed, which ones got too many awards. I'm sure I'm going to be disappointed by some of the picks on here, so can't wait. All right, starting off with Best Supporting Actor. This is a pretty decent list. Nothing too egregious. Pretty much kind of the obvious picks I was expecting. So for me personally, I'm torn between Kieran Culkin from A Real Pain and Guy Pearce for The Brutalist. I think my pick is going to be Guy Pearce. He plays just a very magnetic villain. You hang on every word that he says, and he's really just downright despicable, but you kind of like him at the same time. Maybe like isn't the right word, but just because of how great of an actor Guy Pearce is, you really do hang on every word of his, and he's really electric to follow. So that's going to be my personal pick, but I might put my prediction to Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. He's already walked away with the Golden Globe for this role, and it's another really emotional, charismatic role. I think him as Benji in that film just completely steals the show, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Academy goes that direction. So yeah, my pick is going to be Guy Pearce. My prediction is going to be Kieran Culkin. All right, costume design. We have A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. I think it's pretty safe to say that Wicked is probably going to be taking home a lot of these smaller awards this year. There's always kind of that one movie, that just kind of sweeps up a lot of the smaller technical awards, but maybe doesn't really get as much play in the bigger awards. So I'm really predicting Wicked to probably walk away with this one. But for me personally, my pick would have to be Nosferatu, mostly just because anytime we can throw an award at Robert Eggers, I am all behind that. Makeup and hairstyling. This is the first nomination for The Substance, which is fun to see. And Nosferatu is back again. That's also great to see. I wasn't expecting either of them to really get much play in the Oscars, but hopefully I'll be wrong about that. But this is another one where I kind of feel the same, where I think it's going to go to Wicked. I mean, they have a green woman as the main character. I feel like anytime there's a movie that specifically revolves around a main character that's under a lot of makeup, they usually tend to gravitate towards this award. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with that Gary Oldman movie where he played Winston Churchill. So yeah, I predict this is going to go to Wicked, but honestly, I would love for it to go to The Substance. I'm kind of grouping in the makeup along with the kind of practical effects that they had going on in the film, mostly just because there's a lot of skin and bodily contortions. And kind of like Nosferatu, I would just love to see a full-on horror movie walk away with a pretty decent amount of awards this season. So yeah, I'm gonna pick The Substance. Original score. There is a huge problem here. There is no challengers on this. I've been very outspoken in my review and my year-end list. Challengers was my favorite movie of the year. I honestly didn't expect it to get a ton of representation at the Oscars, but I figured the soundtrack would be a lock. If you haven't heard it, it's incredible. It's like this electro dance kind of club beat kind of soundtrack that you wouldn't think fits with tennis, but it really, really does. And I've no joke, since I saw the movie, I've been listening to that soundtrack a lot. It's a great soundtrack for working out. So the fact that it's not on here is pretty annoying, I'm going to say. So if I gotta pick one then between all of these, honestly, I really liked the soundtrack to The Brutalist. So I kind of want to give The Brutalist my pick and prediction, but I'm trying to think if the Academy might give it to Wicked. Like, does this cover any adapted songs? Like, when it's just saying original score, that's going to imply none of the songs from the stage play, right? So then maybe they wouldn't. Okay, yeah, I think I'll feel pretty confident in saying The Brutalist is going to be my pick and prediction for original score. Okay, so for all of these short film categories, I'm actually going to be skipping those, but I am seeing those. I'm going to a premiere that's going to show all of these. So I'm not going to comment on these right now, but I will be updating at a later date after I see all of them. And I'll probably go ahead and put that over on my Instagram. So if you want to know which of these I end up picking, be sure to follow me on Instagram. That link is down in the description. But if you've already seen one of these on here, let me know which one it was and why you really like it, or if you hated it maybe, and who knows, maybe it'll sway my opinion. Okay, so this is adapted screenplay. I kind of want to vote for one that I haven't actually seen yet, if that sounds crazy. Just from all the little bits and pieces I've seen and everything I've heard about it, Nickel Boys sounds like a really strong contender for a screenwriting award. I will be checking that out as soon as it becomes available widely across the US, which should be pretty soon. I think in January it's supposed to drop if it hasn't already. So that's going to be my pick. My prediction, I would probably say Conclave. It's a very dialogue-driven film, and I think the Academy is going to recognize that. So yeah, pick is going to be Nickel Boys. My prediction is going to be Conclave. And then for original screenplay, this is interesting. The Substance is on there. I know it won the Best Screenplay Award at Cannes, I believe. And I do love that movie. I don't know if I would say the script is the strongest out of this group here. I would kind of maybe say the same thing about Anora, another film I really loved this year, but I don't know if the script was really the strongest element to it. And I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen September 5. I actually don't know what that is, so sorry about that. So then between The Brutalist and A Real Pain, I think I might have to go both. My pick and prediction will go to The Brutalist. That script can be very poetic at times and very moving, very heartbreaking. I think it takes a pretty standard setup of just a immigrant coming to America, trying to find his wealth, trying to find his future. And I think it does a lot of really interesting stuff with it, especially the pursuit of being an artist and the powers that be that kind of weigh that down and influence your art to a point where it's almost not your art anymore. So yeah, I think pick and prediction will probably go to The Brutalist for Best Original Screenplay. All right, actress in a supporting role. Honestly, I think it'd be really funny if they gave it to Ariana Grande, and that's not a knock at her. I think she does a fantastic job in Wicked, but it almost kind of feels like a left field pick that I could definitely get behind. So I think out of all of these, my pick would probably be for Felicity Jones in The Brutalist. She's one of my favorite characters in the film. I think she brings a lot that really transforms it beyond the standard coming to America kind of story. But my prediction, honestly, is probably gonna go to Zoe Saldana. And look, I have my opinions about Emilia Perez. I've seen it, and I don't really agree with a lot of the hype it's been getting this season, but I can agree that Zoe does a very good job with what she's given. With what she's given isn't necessarily great, in my opinion, but I do think for the most part she salvages it. She already got the Golden Globe, I believe, for this role. So yeah, I think my pick will probably go to Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, and my prediction, Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. Original song. This is a tough one. There's 2 songs from Emilia Perez in here. I remember the El Mal one. I didn't honestly think it was all that good. And I'm struggling to actually remember the Mi Camino one. That was kind of my biggest issue with Emilia Perez, is it was a musical, but I don't really think it nailed the musical element of that film. I didn't really find myself liking a lot of the songs, and the fact that there's 2 on here kind of sucks. And I'm not familiar with The Journey or Like a Bird, unfortunately. I wish I saw Sing Sing last year. It just never came to my theaters. So I feel like I vote for him every time he's in one of these award things, but my pick and prediction, I guess, is going to have to be Elton John, because I have heard Never Too Late. And yeah, he has some Oscars under his belt already. He probably doesn't need one more. But if that means one more Oscar can be kept from Emilia Perez, then yeah, sure, I'm behind it. The international feature, Flow, is on there. That's pretty cool to see. And Emilia Perez, we're just going to brush by that. I haven't seen The Seed of the Sacred Fig, but it sounded really interesting. I know it's gotten a lot of good reviews. I'm still here. I actually started and I didn't get a chance to finish it, unfortunately. But from what I saw, I really enjoyed. And it's been getting a good amount of buzz, so I might say that's going to be my pick. I kind of feel like Emilia Perez isn't going to win Best Picture, so they might give it Best International Picture. I'm not going to say I agree with that notion, but I could totally see them doing that just kind of based on the amount of awards recognition it's gotten so far. So yeah, I'm going to be picking I'm Still Here and begrudgingly predicting Emilia Perez will win the Best International Feature. Best Animated Feature, Memoir of a Snail. Hell yeah, I'm glad that made it on here. That was my favorite animated film of last year. So that's obviously going to be my pick. I just wish more people had kind of talked about it, because now I don't really believe that the Academy is going to be picking it. I'm kind of torn here because The Wild Robot, I think, got a better critical reception, but Inside Out 2 like killed it at the box office this year. And I do feel like it's kind of been overdue for Disney to win an Oscar. They've kind of gotten their butts kicked for the past couple years. But I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be their year. I think I want my prediction to be The Wild Robot. And I wouldn't be mad about that. I think that is a very cute, very heartfelt film. Very simplistic in its approach. Not as simplistic as Flow is. They actually kind of have a lot of similar themes to them. But if they want to pick a crowd pleaser, I think The Wild Robot is a hell of a pick, and I can definitely get behind that one winning. Production design, and this is the first thing for Dune Part 2. Wow. This is a tough one because I do feel like the Academy is probably going to kind of lean towards The Brutalist just because it centers around architecture, as silly as that sounds. But I've seen in the past where they'll give some of these sound awards to maybe a more musical film. So I would have to think that a whole film about architecture and building design might walk away with the production design award. Definitely wouldn't mind this going to Nosferatu either, honestly. I would probably say my pick is going to be Nosferatu, but my prediction will be The Brutalist, even though I can definitely get behind The Brutalist walking away with this one. Film editing. The thing is that a lot of these, their editing didn't really stand out to me super prevalently. Anora definitely had a lot of fun in its editing, so I do kind of recognize that, but I also think it was one of those editing styles that you probably didn't really notice all that much. And I hate to keep doubling up on this movie, but I honestly think it might go to The Brutalist, and that's also going to be my pick too. I just think that the fact that that film is 3.5 hours long, plus a intermission, and I thought it flowed by so fast, so easily. It never drags its feet. It's always engaging. I think that is a testament to some very good film editing. So yeah, pick and prediction, gonna go to The Brutalist. For sound design, they're really just giving Emilia Perez everything, aren't they? You know, I would be remiss if Dune Part 2 didn't at least get a little bit of love at the Oscars. And I think the Academy loves their space sounds, so I would say Dune Part 2 is a pretty solid pick. So yeah, I think I'm going to feel Dune Part 2 for my pick and prediction for sound. Oh, but if we're talking visual effects, then yeah, it's going to be hard to beat Dune Part 2 on that one as well. Although, good pick with that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I don't think that film got talked about enough last year, but it's pretty solid. And I mean, that mocap work with the monkeys, it's still tremendous. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely want to pick Dune Part 2 just because visually, like the overhaul it went from the first film to the second film felt like night and day to me. It felt like a much more appealing, stylish film this time around, and I'm really trying not to double up on these so much, but I mean, Dune Part 2, it's going to be my pick and prediction. It's hard to compete with that one, honestly. Cinematography, this is where I was also hoping that Challengers was going to land, and it didn't, so I guess just fuck Challengers this year. I guess it's just not getting anything. Dune would definitely be a good pick, along with The Brutalist, but I do think the most striking cinematography I saw this year came from Nosferatu. So that is going to be my pick, just because got to give Robert Eggers some more awards, please. But as far as my prediction, I feel like it might go to The Brutalist. The film is just absolutely gorgeous, so that wouldn't be the wrong pick by any means. The way it manages to capture the grand landscapes that it operates in, along with the main architectural design once that compound really starts to be built upon, it's incredible. So yeah, I think pick is going to be Nosferatu. Prediction is going to be The Brutalist for cinematography. All right, we're in the heavy hitters now. Best lead actor. I am shocked, but pleasantly surprised that Sebastian Stan is on here for The Apprentice. I still haven't seen it, but just the whole controversy around him not being able to do like the actors on actors thing, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm glad he's actually getting a little bit of appreciation for this role because I heard that he kills it. A lot of people have been talking about Timothée Chalamet for this one, and I haven't seen A Complete Unknown yet, and I know that the Academy loves impression performances, and I hear he does a hell of a Bob Dylan, but I just don't know if it's his year when he's up against someone like Adrien Brody. And I know there's a little bit of that controversy around Adrien Brody potentially having AI used on his voice to make him sound a little bit more Hungarian. I'll have to read into that a little bit more. If that's true, then, I mean, does that really mean that like he should maybe be disqualified because then it's not really his performance? I don't know. There's a lot of gray area that comes with that kind of stuff, but I think I'm still going to pick Adrien Brody. It's a tremendous performance that he absolutely loses himself in. It's bold, it's difficult at times, and I definitely think he's earned this one. As for my prediction, I kind of want them to do add a left field pick and go with Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing. And Ray Fiennes would also be good. I really don't know. There's a lot of potential here. I'm almost thinking that they would go with Adrien Brody, though, because it is a very Oscar-y performance. I think if it was any other year, Timothée Chalamet would probably get it, but I'm going to predict Adrien Brody for this one too. So Adrien Brody is my pick and my prediction. We'll see how it plays out. All right, lead actress. Demi Moore is there for The Substance. Kind of expected that and still am blown away to see it. I'm just glad that a horror movie is getting this much play at the Oscars this year. And Mikey Madsen for Anora, that's a great one as well. You know, I would absolutely love Demi Moore to win this year, but I kind of feel like I'm gravitating a little bit more towards Mikey's performance. There's a lot more complexity to it than you may think. I think she just kind of captures that hopeless romantic type that's not really about the romantic relationship she's in. It's more about the idea of it because it will lead her out of the life that she's trying to escape. I think that just builds up to a lot of pent-up frustration and emotion that just kind of explodes on screen at the very last scene. And then for the rest of it, honestly, she's hilarious. She's very relatable, down to earth. So I feel pretty good about picking her as my favorite out of the bunch. But I think I could maybe see this going to Fernanda Torres. She won the Golden Globe. I'm Still Here is getting a lot of good press behind it. I don't know if this would be a first for the Oscars, first Brazilian woman to win. I believe she's Brazilian. The film is Brazilian itself, at least. I feel like at least for the past couple years, the Oscars have really surprised with their Best Actress pick by going with someone that I think the majority of people weren't really expecting. It kind of happened last year with Emma Stone going over Lily Gladstone. So yeah, I think I'm going to do my pick as Mikey Madsen. Prediction is going to be Fernanda Torres. And director, no Guadagnino for Challengers or Queer, but The Substance is on here, which I was really not expecting that. That's super cool to see. But I think out of all of these, I don't know. I think pick and prediction might have to go to The Brutalist again. I think out of this collection, it's probably the best directed film out of the bunch. Anora is probably the second best pick. But The Brutalist really does feel like a film that the Academy would love to give a lot of awards to. So yeah, I felt like I've been doing it all this video, but pick and prediction, it's gonna have to go to The Brutalist. And Best Pictures. So we have Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, and The Substance. That's crazy. Those last two, Nickel Boys and The Substance, good on them. I'm so glad they were able to make it on here. And Dune Part 2 sneaking in. It didn't get a lot of love outside of the technical awards, so I'm happy to see it come up here. This is always the toughest one to pick. If I'm going by my rankings from last year, it would technically be Dune Part 2 taking the spot here. I did just see The Brutalist recently, and I think it comes under just a little bit under Dune Part 2. The Brutalist is phenomenal, but the experience I had seeing Dune Part 2, it blew me away. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. It's a phenomenal piece of sci-fi epic that I would be over the moon to see it win. But I also feel like it's not going to, just kind of because it's a genre film. I feel like the Oscars usually like something a little bit more straightforward, usually a drama. And you know, it's been talked about so much this year that I just think it might be The Brutalist. There is a deep, dark place inside of me that says it's going to be Emilia Perez, and I'm trying to block that out of my mind. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to go to that dark place. But yeah, I mean, The Brutalist just feels like everything that the Oscars always looks for. Even though it's 3.5 hours, I'm surprised those people in the Academy actually sat and watched this thing, because sometimes it feels like they don't watch anything. But it's one of those movies that just screams movie, and I think it's going to be rewarded for it. So if I'm going with my personal pick, I would love for Dune Part 2 to take it, but my prediction, it's gonna have to go to The Brutalist. All right, so that is all of the nominations. I'm definitely very, very disappointed that Challengers didn't get a lick of anything. That's genuinely insane. But whatever, I had my year in 2019 with Parasite cleaning house. I don't think it'll ever happen again to kind of sway towards what I want. But there are a lot of really good picks on here. I was very happy to see stuff like The Substance and Nosferatu kind of sneak their way in. I hope those two can grab at least one award between the two of them. But yeah, I still have a few films on here that I'll definitely be having to check out. Including the shorts, which I am going to be watching soon. I have my tickets for those, so keep an eye on my Instagram if you want to see what I felt was the best out of the bunch there. And don't forget to let me know who you are going to be pulling for. And as the Oscars get closer, I do have a Oscars cocktail that I'll go ahead and link up in the corner up here, and I'll put it down in the description as well. So check that out if you need something for Oscar night itself. Plus, I also have some cocktails that are for some of the films that have gotten nominations, especially for Best Picture. We have one for Anora, Dune Part 2, and The Substance. I'll link those down in the description as well if you want to check those out. But anyway, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.